gorgeous, I'm the Fairy Voice Mother, and today I'm going to be reacting to Rang, as per your request, times a gazillion, and because it won last week's Fairy Folk Friday poll. I'm really excited. This is a long piece, this is a 12-minute situation, so you know what to do. I think this will be our third analysis of Pakistani music, and if you've seen those already, that's good, but if you haven't, then I just must warn you, you really need to settle in for these. They're like sermons about the soul. That doesn't even make sense. Last time we did one of these, you were moaning at me for not putting lyrics and lyric translations on the screen. So moan no more, fairy folk. I'm just having a little gander at them now. Today there is jubilant colour, oh mother, jubilant colour. Sweetheart's coming home and there's jubilant colour. Glorious jubilant colour. Whosoever's veil gets dyed in this colour, happy is their fortune. Today is jubilant colour, jubilant colour. It does seem rather joyous, and I do love a bit of joy. So without further ado, let's get our joy on. It's the best thing to get on. Harmonics in that note. There's like a whistle. How narrow the lips are is a good giveaway here. A note that is coming out so effortlessly looking out of such a small hole means there is a significant party going on in here. He's not relying on what we call face help. A big open mouth obviously aids projection. And so if you haven't got a big open mouth to aid projection, you need something. And so that something might be the tongue pulled back and a little bit of a compression down here in the vocal tract. And this is going to resonate his voice in a really small space. Now, because of this arrangement, you've got this kind of interesting reflective surface back here that is kind of dividing the frequency that he's producing. You've got like the main harmonic and then the upper harmonic. It's more nuanced than that, but that's what we're getting audibly, is an illusion of a shimmer over the top. Now, another thing to note, because he's shaped this environment to be small, it's going to be easier to manage. He won't need as much breath as if he were to project a really big full note. That is perhaps why singers in this kind of style can perform beautifully sitting down cross-legged, because they don't need that kind of full body breath support. This is such a beautiful special sound that I could talk about one of his notes for like half an hour, but let's just keep going because I'm sure there's gonna be more. It's just gorgeous. Maati ke tum deevare jo suniyo hamari baat aaj mila wala mohe pira जो जगियो सारी रात आज रंग है रीमा रंग है री 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 मोरे ख्वाजा के घर रंग है री आज रंग है रीमा रंग है री मोरे ख्वाजा के घर रंग है री आज सजन मिलावरा मोरे आंगन में सजन मिलावरा मोरे आंगन में आज। Oh, those intervals. Oh my goodness. Right, I need to go and get my tiny piano. If you're anything like me, you might have winced at a couple of points in there. There were some intervals that were just, oh, they're so unusual. We don't hear that usually. The reason that note is so wincy, right, is because we're kind of in this
F major state of mind because we touch the major third when we do that. It's the major indicator. When we do this instead, that little middle one, when we make him squish down and flat, it changes the chord from to. And although that's a difference of just one note, it completely throws you off because you don't expect it. You would expect it to go to a different minor chord, maybe a F major, A minor, but it doesn't, it goes. And the way he gently just sort of dips his toe onto the minor third after singing a bunch of notes on the major third. Ah, it's gorgeous. I love, love, love this about Pakistani music. That, and also the thing I'm going to say now. A chorus, by definition, I think, is the bit where everyone joins in, people sing it together. And in all of the Pakistani music I've heard so far, the chorus has been exactly that. There's always a group of people to sing the chorus. It is so jubilous. Jubilacious? Jubilee. I'm just editing this, wondering how I forgot the word jubilant after saying it 157 times in the intro. Jubilant. I meant jubilant, like the colours. The chorus should be the time where the people sing, like in Les Mis. Do you hear the people sing? Yes. I'm still restraining myself from going 100% nerd mode about Rahat. I don't know how long it's gonna last. At some point it's gonna come out because we've got the other guy joining in now and I haven't heard him before and I'm very excited. There were actually different notes in there. Da, 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 da. We call this a turn in music. You usually get a lot of the jantas faras, like that sort of thing. But this was actually da, 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 da. It changed note. So it was like a proper sort of melisma. Can you believe this? Goodness gracious. Once we emerge from another joyful, beautiful chorus, it just sort of ascends and ascends and ascends, and his voice ascends and ascends and ascends, and then before you know it, it just sort of does this harmonic minor journey upwards. It's like a snake coming out of the pot vision I got. Maybe that's just me. And then the most extraordinary thing is all of the choir. They repeat the phrase and they don't repeat the phrase da 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 da. They go full vocal fold closure, full strength. And that's very high, especially for men. And they just bloody go for it like it's nothing. Balls to the wall. They are using a little bit more of an open throat. It's more ah, whereas he's doing a much more controlled, smaller setup. One of them on their own might sound a little bit shouty, but because they're all doing it together, it's just so chanty and emotional. There was me thinking that Rahat might have started to do this just because he was vibing it, having a good time. But actually, what he might have been doing was dictating that tempo increase. Wave if you want to go faster. I know this is technically not my lane, but the clothing, intricate and sparkly and gold and beautiful, all the while looking quite comfortable as well. And what more could you possibly want from a garment? Oh, the way he's introducing every new word with a lot of conviction, is brilliant for several reasons, but one of the most pertinent reasons is it supports the voice very well. Because if you can build a little bit of push and pressure up here, suddenly you don't need to push so much from down here. And that's very handy indeed, especially when you are in this, what we would call in the Western vocal pedagogy land, mixed voice, which is that kind of ee as opposed to ee or ee. If you push too much breath from the belly zone, you're probably going to end up with a sound that's too thick. But if you don't support it at all, you get. Now, a singer might be prone to this more delicate sound if they pronounce their words very loose, because by doing this kind of pronunciation, you get a constant flow of air, which means the voice doesn't have the opportunity to learn the optimum breath it needs because it's constantly flowing through. And so, as you can imagine, a little p is perfect for this setup. It gives you a little bit of residual pressure in the old cheeks, but not so much to the point where it's dragged up from the bowel diaphragm. One thing that's very important to note though is in order to get to this place where you can rely on a little bit of pressure in the mouth, you need to do a lot of drills to train your vocal folds to behave themselves and to close in this thinner, mixy position, because otherwise you are still gonna just pah! And so if you want to develop your voice to be able to do this kind of thing, I would recommend this exercise. You say pwoof, 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 but you have to keep your voice very gentle. Not pwoof, pwoof, pwoof. Don't open it up because then you're gonna get shouty. Pwoof, pwoof, pwoof. Pwoof, pwoof, pwoof. Pwoof, pwoof, pwoof. And you'll notice as you go up, pwoof, 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 you get a lovely balanced high note that is not ah or ah. You can thank me later. Oh. This tempo change gives it a completely different feel. Yeah, so here we get a really good example of those two different vocal techniques. The choir people, ba, really launching into it, and then the lead vocalist, va. You can even see him kind of visually restrain his voice in this position. Now, this is not bad constriction. This is not squeezing. This is something far more organised. It actually makes the voice more efficient, so it's the opposite of squeezing. The way that he sings and smiles at the same time is both gorgeous to look at, but also it's helping this
shrinking
of the space, as opposed to like a ah, which will give your voice more space because it will guide your larynx forward. If you just change your face ah, and put your hand here, you'll feel your larynx more present and big, and then you'll feel it kind of tucked back. Neither is right or wrong, it's just different. That guy is such a meme, just with the glasses and the shaker. What a bloody cool dude. It's lovely to hear his low note not resonating low. He didn't drop it. Oh my god, how beautiful. Oh, we're really starting to see how much he uses his tongue now and hear it in the sanger. You can see it, it's all bunched up at the back, and thank goodness it is, because it's enabling him to produce the most beautiful high notes imaginable. His voice is super special actually, because it kind of blends a lot of things we're familiar with that more traditional Eastern style, because a lot of the Pakistani singers I've heard so far don't really do a vibrato like ah. It's more like a plain sustained note ah. It's like straight, then bend, then jolted, then straight again. However, he is using vibrato and melismas, like with those turns, while still maintaining that really ringy tone characteristic of this sort of style, and it works so well. The way that he's able to ascend in pitch like that, I don't think would be possible without that tongue retraction. The control and strength and flexibility he has in his tongue always manages to create a perfect resonating environment for the note that he's choosing. So he can just sit down on each one of those onsets, because he knows that as long as he puts his tongue in the right position, his vocal folds are going to just thin out beautifully, which needs to happen for a high note to resonate well, because as the notes get higher, the vocal folds vibrate more times per second. So if you're trying to vibrate vocal folds with a lot of mass very thick, it's going to be a shout. There's no shouting here. It sounded like a yodel, but in the same register. God, that's extraordinary. Lovely. He kind of chases it with his jaw. Ah. Another tempo change. Goodness me. It was the first time we heard him change position. He opened up space in his vocal tract for him to drop, which is the thing I was saying that he didn't do before. Now he's doing it. And then Rahat also did like a boo thing earlier as well. So everyone's dropping their larynx like they're hot. I don't know why I just said that. And the fact that it was fast before, that little tempo increase when they were doing their chorus, and then it slowed back down, it was really like storm, 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 calm, to allow his voice to just kind of sail over the top. Contrast is everything in many artistic realms. If you want something to stand out, then whatever this is, make sure that you do something quite different before it, and it will stand out. Another example of that is when they cut their notes off really short and then they hold on a big one and do a lot of melismatic passages. They're sort of dotted around each other, so it's not just all short and it's not just all melismatic and crazy. It's a definite blend, just as you would do with colours in visual arts. Okay, so he does look very worried, this poor man, and I think the reason he looks rather worried is because the tempo changes are unlike anything I've ever heard before. I think he's probably got to be in charge of the choir posse. It's like he's the mother goose and the other guys are his ducklings, and he needs to try and get them across the road safely, like across these tempo changes. And so I get it. He's also got to make sure he doesn't it up in front of these legends. If that was my job, I would be rather perspirant as well. Bless him. Bless him. He's doing a great job. This is perfect. Oh, nice! They stopped that. The backing vocals cut off so perfectly. And that's especially admirable because A, it's a choir and you always get one of them that's like a little bit at the end. There's none of that. And the other reason is because of the tempo changes. It's one thing trying to keep in time when the tempo is just this, but when it's this and then it's this, for them to always end perfectly together in unison is miraculous. You get an extra hard hit of the drum when a chorus section comes in, because the beginning of that little chorus section wasn't significant vocally, but we were dropped in it by the drum, and then it becomes clear after the first few words, oh yeah, we're in a chorus, and that was why we had that little indication. The way that finishes. Completely different tone, because it's one of the very few opportunities he gives his larynx to relax down. So it really stands out when he does. And the choir bloody do it as well.
That's so cool!
There are no accidents in this. All of these inflections, they are so bountiful, they are everywhere, but they seem to all be planned. Perhaps that is a feature of the language, because I know that many languages require very specific intonation to give the word its meaning. Maybe car and car mean different things. I mean, even in English there's stuff like that, like laugh and love. Laugh, love, laugh, love. They sound very similar. In Portuguese you have avó and avó. thought the other guy was cool. That is next level cool. Oh, he's really MDing it all. What a legend. Oh. There's that minor note again. The way that he tilts his nose, that sort of thing. It's a very valuable thing to do. I would recommend anyone that sings to guide their voice with their hand, because remember, you will be playing an instrument you cannot see. So any kind of physical movement we have on the outside can definitely help us with control. Got to control your voice. It's very important. Absolutely extraordinary. That groove change at the end, just at that last little bit. It was like a half tempo kind of feel. Exhilarating. This piece of music, the way it was structured, like, you know, soloist, little chorusy section, soloist, little chorus section, it could have gone on for double that, and I'd have had the same amount of enthusiasm. It's just so complex. Usually a piece of this length, there would be like a bit of a jam element of it where they just kind of, you know, keep the tempo steady, everyone takes a few bars and does a solo, you know, that sort of thing. But it wasn't like that at all. It was all very, very specific. The fact that he was like conducting or MDing the whole thing as well, you could tell he definitely was. And the lead singer, but not just any lead singer, like extremely advanced, technical, nuanced wizardry vocally. It's brilliant. It says a lot about his experience and musicality. But it was especially joyful to encounter Amjad. The chops, the straight notes, the vibrato, the immaculate pitch, and obviously it's got delays and echoes and that on it, but in terms of pitch, it's so real. Because there's so many slides and bends and very close microtonal action, the pitch correct wouldn't work, because the way that auto-tune works is it snaps it to the scale. And if you do a slide, it will sound like, whoa.
Let them go, that's against the rules.
This music and all of the Pakistani music I've listened to, it seems to be more of a display of gratitude for one thing or another, whether it be the world or someone they love or just God or whatever. And that's very unifying. So it is sadly almost time to love you and leave you until the next video. But before we do, let's read out today's oracle card. We have pissed off with people, situations incoming that get on your tits, present circumstances a pain in the arse. You know you can just tell the world to sod off, politely or otherwise. Be strong with your boundaries and work on your coping mechanisms right now. Shout it out. Oh, and breathe. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it. If there are any singers you would like to see me react to, please do let me know down below in the comments, as it is always my pleasure. If you would like to, you can join our Patreon from just $1 a month if you like, and that will give you the opportunity to vote every week for what video we release every Friday. And that just means I'll be able to make exactly the kind of videos that you want to see, which would be great. Have a wonderful day. I love you so much. If you're here at the premiere, big premiere hug for you. And if you're here at any other time, big hug for you anyway. I love you loads and loads and loads and loads, and I cannot wait to see you again in the next video. Mwah! Bye! And my bloody light turned off. Schmoo. Are you broken? Are you broken? No. Oh my goodness, it's a bit hot. Okay, just let you be dark. I would recommend a little. Leave me now. You take away the biggest part of me. Ooh.